guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video I'll be doing my final team reveal for SuperCoach 2025, going through all the players and selecting them from a blank side, as we didn't do in the AFL Fantasy one. We just sort of let it flow through a side that I already had made up. So we'll just go through and we'll select it, give reasonings and everything, and then we will jump in, and that'll be the start of the season. So anyway, let's just jump into this video. So as you can see here on screen, it is a blank side that I've got up on screen. And I mean, that's how we always start, but let's just jump in here and get to the players. So Flanders out for week 1. Ryan, I don't think is reliable. Lockie Whitfield has the bye. And then you're getting down to Zorko already. McGovern, Sinclair's had an injured preseason, but he should be fine. Houston is back this week, but has a bye. Nick Martin has a bye as well. Jordan Clark as well. You're already losing 14, 15 points to the top players. So the first one I have in is Harry Sheasel. He just looks really good in that midfield forward role, and he's probably going to average goal a game, 25 touches, 4 and 4, probably something like that. And with North winning more games you would expect, I mean, AFL Ladder 2024, let's just go and check out how many games they won last year, because I don't remember. They won 3 games. I think I predicted 6. So if they win 6, 7 games, does that help him average 3, 4, 5 more in SuperCoach, even on the same numbers? That'll be interesting, but I think he's the guy there. And then we get straight into the mid-pricer madness. So I'm just going to collect the ownership because it'll help me out here. And then the next guy here is Jaden Short at D2. If you look at his averages last year, a couple of years ago, I believe, when you take out one of the games, and I'll actually bring up DFS just to help me out here with this. If we go to player summaries here, and then we go and switch it over to SuperCoach and go and click on Jaden Short. Let's just go here. You'll see Jaden Short, his numbers here. In 2023, he actually averaged 102 adjusted. I believe he had an injured game. If we go here and down, you'll see in round 5 last year, in 2024, he had an injured 15. So if you remove that as well, he's actually an 85. But if you go back through 2023 and you remove this 48 that he had against Brisbane in 22% time on ground, you remove that, that gets him up to 102. So there is probably, I would suspect, if you look at all these numbers, realistically speaking, the last 4 years or so, there is about 16 or so points of upside, upwards of 20 if you hit his career high. That's just a lot of value there not to have, and he looks really good to the point that they had to tag him out of games. And Richmond is going to be utterly awful, so I expect a large percentage of their market share to go into the defenders who just knock it around the back, just trying to waste time and slow the game down. So that's why I have him in at D2. D3 on mine is an early buy player in Matty Roberts, highly owned, and that is just because if you look at the numbers, they are pretty, I guess, favourable to Matty Roberts. His kick-out numbers, they don't look the greatest comparative to last year, but he's still getting, I think, half the time that Nick Blakey took him. He was kicking them straight to the likes of Matty Roberts. And yeah, if we just take his numbers here in 2024, and we remove the wing games that he had, I believe that was a wing game, sub, wing, sub. Remove the sub and the wing games, and then we just look at that throughout the regular season. You'll see that he averaged 96. If we include the finals, that goes down to a 91. But if we look at 96.1 in this exact role, and he's priced at 80, that's 15 points of upside there in a defender line that we're really struggling to see upside. And we've already seen him put it on the board there. He's already got himself down into a lower break-even scenario. I don't know what exactly his break-even is, but I'm pretty sure it's currently at 81. But if we look at 2025, and then we go to, it'll be season stats 2025, you'll see that the numbers there, if we say he's going to, whoopsie, didn't mean to do that. If we say he's going to average a 96 and he puts up a 124 against Hawthorn, you'll see that the projections there, that he gets already up to 468k before the bye, and then he easily climbs up to 900k. If we say that he's going to do 100 plus the 124, I think it gets slightly higher. If we go there and look at that, he's already at 471k before his buy, and basically 500k by round 5, by gather round, or the end of gather round, I think it is. That'll be the end of round 2, end of round 4, and yeah, so that'll be at after gather round. If he's going hundreds, that'll be 501k after gather round. And suddenly he almost becomes a guy you can't really get to. And of course he's going to have spike games and stuff like that, and probably have some other games, but I really liked how he was getting a lot of the ball, and not really having too many. I mean, he had 9 marks in the end, but if you look at his first couple of quarters, he didn't actually have too many, I don't think. I think it was all in the last quarter where he had 3 or 4 marks in the last quarter that made up for it. I'm just going to double check that whilst we move on. And then in the D4 position, another very, very common player is Harry Perryman, a guy that I was probably hot on before others in preseason. I know that I talked about this with Scott, and that's why he's probably got a little bit of more ownership in SuperCoach. But yeah, he just was pretty outstanding in terms of that role. It looks set on that midfield role, pure mid. And yeah, just referencing Roberts, he had 6 marks in the second half when he had 55 fantasy points. I don't know what it was for SuperCoach. It was probably about 60, but it shows that in the first half, he still ended up on a 49 fantasy from 13 touches, 3 marks, 2 tackles. So yeah, I think he's set in stone there in a role that with even lowering the mark slightly, you're still going to get him probably around the 100 marker just because of his disposal efficiency. Which probably saves him having to get 3 or 4 more touches comparative to others. Perryman, the Pies midfielder is utterly horrendous, but they also got flogged, and he still got to a 93, so I don't think he will do too bad in the future with that. If they start winning some games, which could happen soon, they do play Port, which will be an interesting matchup. If we look at 2025, they've got Port, Western Bulldogs, Carlton, Sydney. They do have a tough-ish run, I would say. But Western Bulldogs, he should do all right. And if we say he's going to average 100 and say that this one is a 93, let's look at that projection. He goes pretty well, and he still gets some cash gen whilst getting some points, which will be critical. And then in D5, this is one of the ones across both platforms that I think a lot of people have thrown up and don't know what to do with. And for me, I've landed on Joel Frazier or a SDK. I think they're both in and around that same ownership. I just want to look at this and just check if I can go there. That should help it out a little bit, and get away from these rookies as well. If I do that, then that should show Sam De Koning. And yeah, Sam De Koning and Joel Frazier, 8 to 10% owned. They're both around about the same marker. I've gone both ways. I think at the moment I'll land on Sam De Koning just because I think that role is more, it's a better role in terms of scoring, although they both have role worries in terms of they could lose it a little bit more. So I think De Koning, he plays Freo, he plays Reedy, and Reedy really struggled against Livingston. I don't know what Livingston scored in terms of that game against the All-Stars. But yeah, Reedy did really struggle. And if we look at, do we have any round zeros or anything? AFL preseason. I don't want Adelaide. I want the whole team. Thank you. Let's just go to this. And we'll give me 1 second here to grab this up and look at the Fremantle versus the Freo versus Melbourne preseason game. Gorm went 117, 116 splits against a combination of Reedy and also Jackson. So yeah, I think that De Koning can at least go 90, 95 against Reedy. I think he'll beat him around the ground as well. And so I also think it's apparently like 36 degrees or something like that. So yeah, I think he'll be able to beat him around the ground a little bit more because Reedy isn't the best around the ground ruckman comparative to De Koning, who's a little bit smaller and more agile. Then in D6, I think this one is a pretty common one as I just get these price ranges back into it. Where is he? Down a little bit longer. Wow, not many people. Here he is. Jackson Pryor, I think, is the guy. There was a little bit of concern yesterday about him Sardis not being best 22. Pryor, obviously best 22 with the debut. Got those two mixed up somehow. But yeah, Pryor, I think he's a guy, if you look at his VFL numbers, if we go here and we go to AFL on DFS, and then we look at, where is the VFL? State League. It's the VFL with the Lions in 2024. I think you'll see Pryor did rack it up exactly. Yep, averaged 94.1 fantasy points in the VFL with 20 touches, 4 handballs, 7.2 marks, 1.5 tackles. That's absolutely taking the mickey. That's even better than like just Buslinger and guys like that. If we even look at like, I just want to see, does this even... Matty Roberts in 2024 in the VFL averaged 92, and we saw what he's done in the AFL. I'm not saying those two are going to do the same, but we know that Essendon love the chip nature. So if Jackson Pryor is best 22 and isn't the sub, he's going to average, I think, 65, 70, and he's priced at like 30 or so. I don't know what exactly he's priced at, 31, so he'll do exactly fine. And then the last couple guys here as I want to start to get through this. Zach Reed and then also Luke Traynor. Pretty obvious selections there. Not a sub risk, I don't think, either of them being keys. They're also not having the early bye, and there's not really too much of a guys returning to play their spots that should impact them, to be honest with you. Then we get into the midfield, and I see all the forwards here. So let's just go through. And I think on the 2024 average should help a little bit in terms of getting to him. I've actually started with a Caleb Sarong at M1. I think he's a guy that could take himself to the next level. I think also there's just a lot of chaos in that Fremantle midfield in terms of that third and fourth slot. So they'll rely heavily on Caleb Sarong. And I think also he's becoming a slight goal threat and just being able to float forward a little bit. And the matchups that he has to start are pretty ridiculous. He has Sydney, but Sydney do tend to tag Jordan Clark more so than Caleb Sarong. So that'll be interesting. But I think that he's shown before that he can do it. He scored 150 against them. And even if a tag game he goes 85, it's not the worst. And then he's got West Coast as well. So he's got captaincy games as well. And you'll see in my slide that I really do need just a couple of captaincy games. And you see round 1, round 3, and round 5, he's got captaincy material games. So that is just really good. And even round 4 against Western Bulldog, that could be a VC type of scenario there, as I believe they do play early-ish that game. Early in the round, I should say. I'm not 100% sure. Then we get to the second guy in terms of the ownership. And if I just scroll down here, it should be highly owned, you would expect. Yes, he is. Connor Rozee. And I just think him at his price, I know he's had that stub toe, but he's completely fine, it looks like. And I just think he's a guy that can return back to his best. If we look at his career stats, here is SuperCoach career stats. 98 he's priced at, I believe. And he's gone 107 in the past. And I'm pretty sure in 2023 that had injury games in it as well. Let's just go to Rozee here and just look at that 2023. 107 and then priced at 98. If we look at 2024 and we remove the injury games, I'm pretty sure you'll find that if we remove the injury games, that was him coming back and he didn't do anything really. And then once we get to, he played out of position almost in that game. But then once we actually get to the games that he played reasonable same role, you'll see that he actually averaged pretty good. He averaged 101.3 in the 19 games that he played there. And so, I just think that there is a little bit, and that is including a little bit of finals footy. If we take out finals footy here, you'll see that that goes up to a 104.3 in the 16 games that he has got there. That's already 6 points of value. And with the midfield run, with the midfield without Butters, I think there's a lot of points there for him. And we saw that the midfield, Rozee is a very similar player, I feel like, to that of a Finn Callaghan. And Callaghan went 144 against the Pies. So he's got that. He's also got Richmond. Essendon give up quite a lot of points. Just look at the teams that he's got in this little run here. I'm pretty sure that's an injured 65. So you can look more so at that 117. So he's got that run to start there. Then he's got St Kilda. Hawthorn will be tough. Sydney probably tough. But then he's got North again. So he's got a pretty kind first 4 or 5 weeks where he can put it on and really score. If we go, and I'm not going to include the whole stats, but if we just say he's going to somehow average 120 for the first 4 weeks, he's already up 51k. He's got points on the board. He's got those big banker scores during the buys that you really need in best 18. So that's what I'm looking at for Rozee. Then we get to the, I'm just going to put out the the M3 through 5. If I go here and I get rid of this and I go down to the 490s, I think it is I skipped over one guy that's kind of critical. There we go. and we go to ownership, and we go here, and we go, where are all these guys? They're kind of low ownership, unless I've just skipped over them. There we go. Will Day is one of them. Callahan's the other, and then Clayton Oliver here. I somehow was looking at the 7. There was all 3 of them in the first 7 guys that I looked at. Didn't see one of them. So anyway, these 3 are the M3 through 5. I'm pretty confident in them. I did have some strong words about Callahan, and that's something I've debated with like Adam Chera. But if we look at Adam Chera, 12%, I just can't get past this, and talking to other Carlton fans about, he feels like with Walsh being fit, he's going to be that 3rd guy. I struggle to see the absolute upside with Chera this year. And we're also going off at like 10, 12 game span out of like 130 games. So I've kind of called on him because of Callahan. If Callahan hadn't gone, I probably would have Chera here in this M5 slot, which Callahan is. But I just can't feasibly have it there. And then we get to the rookies here. So let's just go like this and grab the prices down here into the 250k range, because we have all of the rookies: Ashcroft, Tsadis, Finn O'Sullivan, Nevitt, Lucas Camporelli. Remember, it's Lucas, not Ben. Ben's still injured. I know that it will help in a day or so when we get tonight, when we get the green dot. And I'm just trying to figure out who the last guy I have here is. It's not Harvey Langford. It is his draftee at the same club in Xavier Lindsay, who I think gets a start in for Melbourne. But if he doesn't, then I get to go to someone else. Maybe even take an Elijah Hewitt, who will probably, I think, miss this round, but not get, but come back the next round, or a Bo Allen or something like that, who allows you to take the rookie, potentially a rookie scorer in Camporelli, etc. But then again, you're missing out on a little bit of cash gen. So to and fro there, etc. But if Camporelli does score well, like a 90 or 100, then you might want to do that with a guy that's probably confirmed to come back. Then we get to the ruck line, and I'm just going to put the... How am I going to do this? So if I do this, and then I can get Boyd in there. So Boyd is the R3, which is a pretty easy debate there. And, that's why I've got the rookies on, so that's why they're not showing up. R1, Tristan Cherry. Think that's... The debate is definitely there with him and the likes of a Max Gawn. Max Gawn could absolutely monster, and so I am a little bit worried about that. I'm a little bit more worried about trying to find other rookies that can score well, rather than, how do I put this right? Rather than trying to find that little gap of Gawn to Cherry. It might be 10, 15 points over the first 6 or so weeks, maybe 10 points. But I'm just more worried that Cherry will, that the other rookies that I grab in needing that extra cash will be a little bit worse. So that's why I've kind of gone with Cherry. But I could easily be flipped to Gawn. I think I just need to make maybe Lindsay down to someone like 130k or so. And then I've got the cash there to do that maneuver there with Cherry up to Gawn, but we'll see about that. Then the other guy is TDK. He's probably a potential VC in week 1, just up against, I think it's, who is he playing? Is it, who's he playing? Oh, he's playing Richmond, so he's not even, it would be a Gawn VC, but, a Gawn captaincy, I think. But yeah, I don't know, it would be, someone's got to be the VC. Someone's got to play early. Richmond versus Carlton. I don't really have any Carlton players, actually, other than TDK, who's probably not going to score terribly well against Nank. But then you've got some other matchups, obviously, that will be captaincy, and we'll go through captaincy. I'll probably just do it on Twitter, to be honest. But anyway, moving on to the last set of guys here, the forwards, and then also the flex, and you'll see who's in my flex position, which will help out. But at F1, I didn't have him initially in my side throughout the season, but Jason Horne-Francis is at the F1 position. I think he's just a guy that's going to go pretty well, and especially that run first 6-7 weeks, and now without Butters for that most of that run, it should do really well. Then you've got Jack McRae at F2, Horne-Francis at F1, McRae at F2. McRae pretty much locked and loaded. He's going to be, I expect, top 6, top 8, so you're not going to have to waste a trade on him at all. And yeah, he'll just be full-time mid. Then at F3 is a Bailey Smith at the moment. I just can't pass up the value that he has priced at 72, and I just think that he can easily go. If we look at his stats here, he went 80 in 2023, but if you look at his stats in 2022, he went 98, 90, 87, 92, etc. So there is still 15, 20 points of that side. He doesn't have the early buy to contend with, and his role isn't going to get taken over. It should only get better, you would expect. So, yeah, that's why I have Bailey Smith. I think a lot of people are going to get, I think it's just the obvious thing at the moment, 61% owned. I think that'll maybe go down, but still 61% owned. If you get it wrong, you're really, really fighting. Whereas if you get Sanders wrong, it's only 28%, and you can adjust pretty early on. I feel like with maybe even a Callahan to a Sanders or something straight like that, because Sanders does have that midfield status. Then in F4, Caleb Daniel, pretty obvious. I think just given the what role he's going to get, I expect him to average 95 plus. In that role, we've seen even Fisher do it. We've seen McKercher, Sheasel, we've seen Zeeble, we've seen Hall do it. That's just to name 5 or 6 guys that have always that have done it in the past. So I think he's going to get that juicy role. And then we get to Hugo Garcia at F5. Another one that I've sort of toed and froed around a little bit, just because I think he could be moved on. And if I was to have if the flex position wasn't to be who it's going to be, I feel like I could get away with having maybe even getting him up to Sanders if I had that spare like 100k that I'm going to have from the flex position. So yeah, that's sort of the thought there with that. And I feel like he's a guy that I could easily change to Sanders if we get someone else. But I don't know if we will. Then in that F6 position, it's pretty obvious. Davidson, he's just going to do what he does. And then you've got Stone and then also Patton. Patton, I feel like I'm a little bit more sure on now, just because Sydney lost. Still don't have Snell. Edwards is still firming up for a VFL. He's a test for VFL practice match. They lost Francis to a concussion. So basically it would be Hamling or bust if they wanted to go down back with an extra guy. And if they wanted to go up forward, it would be McLean. So it kind of knocked 2 or 3 guys back down the 2 or 3 of the tools got injured, which would have replaced Patton. So that's why I'm pretty firm in having Patton there. And then you've got Flynn here in the flex position. He's just, I think, going to average 80 or so. And you just look at the cash gen with a guy that averages 80, and it's pretty big. I know he's priced at like 50 or so, but if he averages 80, if we just look at that, if he averages 80 somehow, he goes up 42, 31, 23, 17, and suddenly by round 6, he's 377k. That's 250k you basically get for putting him to someone else. And yeah, by that point, you can probably combine him with another 300k rookie, and suddenly you've got a 550k asset there in the flex position, which could be even a Gorn or someone like that, where you're able to play that there. Maybe Rowan Marshall dips a little bit, and that's how you get the flex to that third ruckman. That is basically the plan. I don't think you can start with the 3 ruckman, because you string yourself a little bit in terms of you've got to nail those 3 ruckmen, as you don't really want to waste a trade on the rucks department. But yeah, I would rather be able to pick, I don't know, out of Gorn and Marshall, who's going to be that third ruck if I need it. If TDK also, because a lot of people are starting TDK, you probably also want to trade him. So if you get one of Gorn or Cherry not being top 3, maybe it's English or something like that, I feel like I'd rather want the flexibility to be able to select rather than being locked in with the 3 ruck strategy there. So that's the reason why I've gone with not having a guy there at the flex position who's a primo price player. But that's just me. And then quickly before we end out, I should have done this at the start of the video, but hopefully people are clued in still and watching. Here is the league code again for the YouTube league here, 892085. Hopefully you guys are watching again so that you can pick that up and join the 19 of us already in here for the season ahead with SuperCoach. So anyway, If you guys did enjoy that video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload on YouTube. You'll have the first game of the round, both a fantasy and SuperCoach review of that on the Friday. And I think I probably won't do on the Saturday the Friday night game. I'll see if I can get it out, but it may be too late with the lighting and everything to get that game out in due course. But yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy that. Remember to follow me on Spotify if you guys are listening over there, and give me a rating, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for more content with the round 1 tips. So I'll see you guys then. Bye guys.